Megavanan, and welcome my friends to Elven Awakenings, chatting with the Elven Scholar. And now, to your guide to all things Elvish, Dr. Erendil Spindler-Ellis, the Elven Scholar.
Once upon a time in a forest rich in pine and oak lived a young elf. He lived amongst his neighbors who were clothed in fur and feather, and found joy and peace with each sunrise, and silence in the evening light of the stars. He spent his days communing with his woodland brothers and sisters, and the nights in contemplation and meditation. Light shone upon him unstained from the mortal world, and he was happy. But as time passed, he became more aware of the land outside, filled with fear and despair, and he knew his time of living in the gentle woods was coming to an end, and his journey as a teacher was upon him. When the morning sun found him again, he walked out of the forest with nothing but the clothes on his back, and strode into the land of man, to teach and to be taught. For it is the way of all teachers, that the student so often will be the better master. This is my story, and it is true. My name is Erendil, and I am the Elven Scholar. Every child is born a naturalist. His or her eyes are open by nature, open to the glories of the stars, the beauty of the flowers, and the mystery of life. Megavana, my elven fae, and other kin family, and what a wonderful way to start off with. How do we live as an elf in today's world for those that choose to want to express their elven nature? How do you do it in a very non-elven world? And it starts with recognizing your true inner being, your true inner nature, that beautiful, shining, sacred, rare elven light that is within all of us. I love the phrase by Abraham Hicks. It goes, not only does the thought you are choosing right now attract the next thought and the next and so on, it also provides the basis of your alignment with your inner being. It truly is what you think you are, what you dream that you can be, you can become. You know, I've talked about it so many times in the past, on a little bit on this radio show as well as in my YouTube channel, an Elven Scholar, where I talk about, as a doctor, we've noticed over the decades that a happy patients seem to heal faster than sad patients. And it's that way with everything in life. It's your attitude, what you believe, and what you're willing to do to be who you are, to fight against the conformity that the world so much wants you to do. And so today's show, as I promised, is going to be about living as an elf in today's world. And most of this is obviously from my perspective, though I've got a couple of wonderful, an elven brother and sister who wanted to share a little bit of their story and what they do. So we're going to talk about that today. What can you do to basically manifest your elven being in today's world? Now, a lot of people, do you do it in secret? Are you a closet elf? Do you only dress or express that side of your being in your own home, or do you show it outside? Do you express it no matter where you're at? So I'm curious about that. I'd love to hear from anybody else, and I'll be happy to talk about it on future shows. Please feel free to contact me at radio@elvenscholar.org. I would love to hear from you and see how you're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about what I do as an elven being and living in today's world, and how I express that on a day-to-day basis. I will have to admit, my situation may be easier than a lot of yours. I made a decision a very long time ago that I obviously, when it came to work, I did not play well with others, and I did not care to be an employee in most situations because I just couldn't accept conforming to someone else's ideals. My dad always had a problem throughout a big part of his life. He was a genius. He was considered a genius. He produced a lot of the amazing things that we use today, and but he could not stay at a job for very long because he would argue and fight with the owners of the corporations, going, "You're not running your business right. You're not being logical." And to a large degree, he was right. But I kept telling him that was not his business. That was their business, and it was up to them to do it. And if they wanted to run it into the ground, unfortunately, that is their choice. And I never cared to argue with those that I used to work with, but I found that if I could not be comfortable working with them, if I found that if in order to remain there, I was going to compromise who I was, well, then I had to make some changes in my life. And a very long time ago, I chose not to work for anyone anymore. So, again, that wonderful Elven manifestation. And you can look back on some of my previous shows, and I talk about that in our School en Bangor. The Elven School College online. We have a course on it. Elven manifestation, learning to manifest and bring things into your life or to bring things to light. And so I was very blessed, and I decided it was time to no longer work for someone else. So I went out on my own and learned to manifest new careers for myself, and anyone can do that. And you know what? In today's world, it is actually a whole lot easier than that used to be. Nowadays, so many people, due to everything that's been going on in the world, they now work at home. And that gave them more opportunities, and certain financial incentives allowed them not to have to work for somebody that they couldn't work for, they couldn't believe in, doing things they couldn't believe in. And so it opened up the possibilities for them to maybe go back to school or try their hand at trying their own business. For myself, that definitely paid off. And I haven't worked for anybody in decades and decades. And it gives me the freedom, I will admit, to where I don't have to conform to someone. And I know not all of you feel like you have that opportunity. So part of this show is to talk about things that you can do even if you feel like you can't be out on your own financially independent. Okay, so I'm going to talk about myself for here a little bit and let you know what are some of the things that I do. Yes, I don't have to work for someone else, but I've still been a doctor for decades, and it still required me to interface with the public, and but I've been blessed. I have never fit into any particular mold. I have the longer hair, and I obviously don't dress like most other people. Even when my wife and I ran the largest naturopathic medical center in California, I would wear my scrubs. Absolutely, I wear my scrubs because, they're easy to clean when you're working in a medical environment. But I always wore my Birkenstocks. I always had my sandals on, and patients came to accept that I was a different kind of doctor, and a long-haired doctor and scrubs with Birkenstocks on, and they came to accept it. And I was able to actually practice some of the Elven manifestation, and I would talk to them about that. And I even had Reiki in the clinic, and things of that nature, and they accepted it, and they found that it worked for them. So for myself, what are some of the things that I try to do I try to do this, if not on a daily basis, certainly as often as I can. And one thing that's been a blessing, and we talked about it in earlier shows, was that my wife and I, up until very recently, lived in a very eco-friendly Elven sanctuary that we built. And it was up in Northern California at 158 acres. You can look at it on some of my past shows, and on the YouTube channel we talk about it. It was a wonderful place. It was solar powered, one of the largest in that area of Northern California. Wonderful well. So many gifts that were given to us through Elven manifestation. And we lived up in the mountains. And we were able to be very eco-friendly. The home was built eco-friendly, and it was a great experience. We just recently left there because when we moved there, it was all green and beautiful and up in the mountains. But as humans moved out further and further into the mountains, unfortunately, with them, they brought fire. And we were blessed, and our home in our little valley was very sacred and protected. But they were encroaching on it, and there was so much smoke that we finally said enough's enough, so we moved. And we now live in the desert in Southern California, which is another beautiful experience. And currently, as part of what we can do, is we live in a home that has a significant amount of its power contributed by wind power. And we're getting ready to move further into the desert, and we found a home that already has solar power on it. So that's another manifestation. And don't think that this requires a ton of money. What it requires is for you to look within yourself, find out who you are, find out what you dream of and what you desire in your life, and manifest it. And with faith and love, it can happen. And our life is a beautiful example of that. So even though we're not living in our Elven sanctuary right now in Northern California, we are in the desert, and it's got its own magical beauty to it, and we're still able to live eco-friendly. We can still do some organic gardening. We plan on doing more when we get up further into the desert. Things like that. Like I said, we ran the medical clinic that involved even Elven medicine. I try to, unfortunately, I haven't been doing as much as I would like since we moved here, but I'm getting more back into it, and that is music. Music is so incredibly important to us. Music, whether it is going online and like especially on YouTube. You go to YouTube now, there are so many Elven channels, Elven music channels with beautiful music. I try to surround myself with music because it's inspirational. And there is a wonderful little slide I can show here. And it's about the effects of music in the brain. Playing and listening to music works so many different areas of the brain. And it literally causes your brain to be rewired. It has very much the same effects as if you were studying mathematics. But one of the most important things it does is it gets us back in touch with our own inner nature. And it inspires us. And it reminds us of what can be in this world. If you constantly surround yourself with today's news, and I'll be talking about that later on in the show in the final thoughts. If you surround yourself with negativity, then that's what you will manifest. You want to manifest that beautiful, gentle, elven light within you? Then surround yourself with that kind of environment. Music, things like that. For myself, one of my greatest joys has been to learn to play a musical instrument. I play multiple different instruments. I play the flute or the alto recorder, and I prefer, obviously, medieval music is what I prefer to play. And it kind of just takes me away, and here I am actually creating something beautiful because, again, as you notice from if you listen to a couple of my shows ago, radio shows that I talked about, we are all notes in the great cosmic music. We are truly, even down to the genetics, notes of music. And then when I can create my own music, how much better that is. And so I will play the flute very often, the ocarina, that beautiful little tiny instrument that you can carry around in your pocket. Stunning music. I have an Elven ocarina that I play, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And I also play a very ancient instrument. It's a relative of the harp called the psaltery. And I'll try to put up an image of that as well. So I try to immerse myself in the kind of music that reminds me of who I am. And you can do that even if you're in the city, in an apartment, things like that. Something also that's really important, and this is terribly important, especially in today, especially with all of the isolation that people have been going through lately, is getting under trees, hugging a tree, being around trees, having your hands in the dirt, working in the garden, working with plants. I've talked about this before, and it's forest bathing. I try to forest bathe as often as I can. Even in here in the desert, we have trees. And I try to sit underneath trees every day, if I can do that every day. And we're blessed in the home that we're living in right now. It has beautiful trees that actually have green bark. Absolutely beautiful trees. So it's been found that walking in the woods, that's something even in the city that you are able to do. They found that was forest bathing is called, another term is forest therapy. They found just being under trees and walking in the woods for just 20 minutes gives a 13.4% drop in the stress hormone cortisol. Just 20 minutes causes the cortisol hormone to drop 13.4%. and a 5.8% decrease in heart rate. There is so much stress today. I've treated thousands of patients due to stress. And I will tell them, get out there, hug a tree, walk under trees, walk in the forest, because that's who we are. Our very nature is we are creatures of this earth, children of nature. You cannot live in a box your whole life and expect yourself to be healthy, both emotionally, mentally, and physically. They also found that 2 hours for 2 sequent days, each effect lasts, and these effects last for about 30 minutes, is a 50% boost in NK cells. Okay, that's part of your immune system that fights disease, and a 20% boost in anti-cancer proteins. Just walking in the woods can actually help you prevent cancer and also boost your immune system. Absolutely incredible, because again, that's what we were designed for. You're not designed to be in a box all day long and then to get out and get inside another box and drive over to somewhere else and then get out of that box and get inside another box and spend 10 hours a day there under artificial light. Then get back in a box, go back to your other home box and stay in there all night long and never get out. It's not natural. And my patients, when I've told them to get out, recommended to them, get out in nature, what a difference it had on their psychological being. It was amazing. Something else I do, and I still do it to this day, and something you can do, whether you go to our Elven school, Lambangamore, or you go to another school. What an amazing time in history right now where people are, unfortunately, so many of them still feel like they're stuck at home, but what a time to go back to school. So many of the universities today, ours included, have gone to online. So you can get full degrees and certifications at home. You can study, like at our Elven College, you can study Elven manifestation, first aid. You can become a medical herbalist, a medical nutritionist. These are things that you can do because the very nature of your Elven spirit is also that of a healer. And how much more affirming is that than to increase your skills as a healer? So, okay, this sounds like a silly one, but it truly does work, and that is something that everyone can do if they want to do that, is cosplay, pretending to be something else for a little while. It is a part of human nature and part of the growing up process that in order to prepare ourselves for adulthood, we play, we practice, we pretend when we're very, very young, in order to train ourselves and to explore our inner nature and find out where we're happiest, so that maybe then we will carry that forth to adulthood. So I wrote something some years ago about the value of playing. It is often seen where children will play with their imaginations and will let their fantasies take flight. The older folks will look upon them with gentle smiles, thinking how sweet the sight, but one of little worth, as it is simply their flights of fancy. And one day they will grow up and take upon themselves the yoke of adult responsibilities. But from the dreams of little ones can find birth and reality. Let them play, for within those that enjoy playing at being elves, let them play, they may find themselves. Sometimes, if we play something long enough and believe hard enough, we become what we dream. Let the elven children come out to play. Maybe they'll stay. Again, it goes back to, if you want to be an elf, be an elf. Be an elf every day. Do something that's elven. The music, the flutes, listening to music, your cosplay, going back to school, studying healing, even if it's just your own personal studies. Read books, all right? I know that's not as often as it used to be nowadays, but read books, Lord of the Rings, the Narnia series. A lot of people will say, oh, that's just such a waste of time. Tolkien didn't find it that way. Tolkien often would say that within myths is truth. Myths and legends are actually based on truth. And what we find with these stories, even if they're fantasies, that within each one of these books is a dream, is some dream of the past or a dream of what the future could be, some kernel of truth that exists. And by reading these books, we can believe that it can happen again, that we can bring that into our lives. I remember a very, very long time ago when I was learning about elven nature, I thought, if elves didn't exist, I'd create them. I would be the first one, because I believed so much in what the elven nature, what the elven light means, that if it didn't exist, I'd make it. And so if you read a book and it rings true to you, it touches your inner soul, it's trying to remind you of something. In these books, though, Flights of Fancy can still be inspirations and reminders of some inner truth that we've been told to ignore all of our lives. Another good thing I've really enjoyed doing is teaching. Teaching is very inspirational, and it is a constant reminder. I went through school. I became a reflexologist. I became a Reiki master. I became an herbalist and went on to become a master herbalist. I then went on to eventually earn my doctorate degree, and I became a licensed and board certified doctor. All right, and then of course I've been practicing all these decades. But what's wonderful about teaching, because I'm also a professor now, and what's wonderful is when I get up in front of those students and I'm looking at their faces and remembering where I was at all those decades ago. It reminds me and reawakens that passion again. One of the biggest things that exists today is physicians burnout, where doctors and nurses and all these others are just totally fried and burnout, and they leave the profession. And it can be a loss for the community when that happens. But when we teach others, it reminds us of that passion when we see it in the eyes of others. And it maybe allows you to go on a little bit further and to try a little harder at being that elf, being whatever it is that you believe you want to be, and inspires you to keep going. And it's also nice because it reminds you of things when you're teaching them. It's like, oh, I've totally forgotten about that technique or that protocol. And it's the same with any kind of course. Something else that's wonderful that I love to do every day in an elven nature is to write. I love to write poetry. I've written multiple books. I have a series of books out on holistic healing. Poetry and writing can be very cathartic, can be very cleansing. And just like reading a book, you're allowed, again, those flights of fancy, and you're able to write down what you dream you'd love to have in your life. Well, maybe you can, if you believe in something hard enough that you can do it. So I love to do those type of things. Again, all from an elven perspective. Meditation, incredibly important to me. I try to meditate every day because getting quiet in a noisy world like this, the TV's off, even music during that time is off, because for most people there are so many voices both inside and outside shouting at them, and you can no longer recognize or separate that still small voice within you that is actually you. That voice is you. It's not other people trying to get you to be them or be like them. That still small voice has been forgotten. When you meditate, all those voices can eventually, it can take practice, but eventually get quiet and go away. And you begin to hear that one voice that's been most patient all these years. And again, it can remind you of who you are. It definitely can take practice, but don't let it stop you. Don't become discouraged. It's an amazing thing. The more you do it, the stronger you get. There's an old Zen phrase about a Zen master was asked one time by a young student, "How often should I meditate?" "Every day." And the master responded and said, "At least 20 minutes every day, and if you're busy, at least an hour," because you obviously need it more by doing that. All right. Something else that's important is to express that that healer within you. And I try to do this. I still work with my patients. I try to work with the trees and the plants and the herbs here. I try to help where I can. The best way that you can climb is to help someone else along the way by helping to boost them up. And so the more that you help someone else, the more you help yourself. And as I've said so many before, be a soulful spirit. How more elven can you be? Thank you, the Silver Elves, for that. Again, spirit and soul, two sides of the same coin. The spirit is your individuality expressing itself, and your soul is that part that says, okay, now let's go share that with someone else. And you'll never advance far in elven spirituality that if all you do is just focus on yourself. We're all here to share and to serve each other. For myself, I talked about this last week. I don't know how many agreed or disagreed with it, but one of the most important things I do to express my elven nature every day is I am a vegan. I will not partake in any animal products. I have learned that I do not require their deaths for my existence or even for my ability to thrive. I talked about all that last week, so I won't go into great detail about it, but I've carried it for myself to the point where I'm also a raw vegan. I have not eaten cooked food in quite a number of years, and I find that it gives me a peace and a calm because my body isn't fighting to digest food. It just naturally, because it's raw food, works with me well. And I'm not trying to sell, but in case, because I can hear it actually over the speakers. I can hear people going, oh, it's so hard to be a raw vegan because there's so little food you can eat. Well, I have a book out. You can find it on Amazon, by Dr. Erendil Spindleilis, and it's called How to Cure Chronic Disease with a Raw Vegan Diet. It has hundreds of recipes in it. Please take a look at it if you have any doubts about being raw vegan. Or you can go, there's a lot of wonderful raw vegan authors out there. But for myself, veganism was a choice of compassion. That how can I better express my elven nature every day than by not allowing my body to be a graveyard when it was so unnecessary. And by being a raw vegan, it has brought me a calmness and a clarity to be able to cope with all the things that I have experienced in life. Another thing you can do, and you can do this every day, you can volunteer doing it, is to be an elven environmentalist, an elven ecologist. We have a course, obviously, with the botany and ecology. But go plant a tree. Get involved if you want in community efforts to help build the forest again, or to build a neighborhood garden or community garden. These are all very elven things that you can do because we are a part of nature. And the more that you can do that gets you in touch with nature, the more you are experiencing your elven nature. Reiki energy healing, you can do it on yourself, you can do it on others. It's also a wonderful elven thing that you can do as well. As I said in the first part of the show, I had a couple of wonderful elven family, an elven brother and an elven sister, email me what they do, that they try to do every day that is elven. And I wanted to go ahead and touch on those real quick before we get ready to move on to a break, and then we'll talk about special announcements, and then we'll have story time. But okay, one is by a wonderful elven brother. He's up in Canada. His name is Sean. And he sent me this email. He said, Megovana, my elven brother, here are some things I do. Okay, and these are just some of the things he tries to do every day to manifest that elven nature in him. These are wonderful suggestions. Try to produce less waste. Very environmental there. Taking care of this beautiful world that we live on. More time in nature. More time for me. That is not a selfish thing. More time for me. It's important that in order to nurture others, we have to nurture ourselves. Even within the Christian religion, according to Jesus, it said, remove the beam out of your own eye before you remove the mote out of someone else's. Make sure that you are healed, and then you can be a better healer for someone else. So I totally get more time for me. Spend more time in the sun. really important up in Canada with the kind of weather they get up there sometimes. But the sun, it's been shown it helps alleviate depression, anxiety, all the different health benefits. It's interesting, and this is a medical fact, just 20 minutes a day. 20 minutes a day with short sleeves, short pants, no hat on, no suntan lotion is enough to get all the vitamin D you need for one day, unless, of course, you have some serious skin issues or something of that nature. Okay, he goes on to say, be aware of environmental initiatives. There again, be aware of the laws that they're trying to pass, and usually against nature. Be aware of what they're trying to do to help nature, and maybe be a part of that. Again, get out there and plant those trees and gardens and such. Okay, walking and using public transportation. That's wonderful, Sean. Absolutely. The more that we can depend on ourselves, the less of a carbon footprint we can do in this world. That's an incredibly Elven thing that we can all do. We can all do that. Eat natural foods. I know that Sean is a vegan, so we're very proud of him. Eat natural foods. Try to eat foods closer to their source, to their absolute nature instead of overly processed because they're dead by that point. All right, and that way you're also supporting the local community. And he finally goes on to say, compassionate to animals and plants and all living things. Hanenle, Sean, thank you. That's a beautiful Elven thought that we can do to express that love that we have. Because as an Elven child, we are stewards in this world. We are the caretakers for this world. It's our job to help care for this world. And all the other animals, they are part of our responsibility. With this great gift we have of being human beings, of being elves and fae and other kin, comes with responsibility to care for those who have a hard time caring for themselves in a world that's been so damaged. So again, Hanenle, Sean, I appreciate that. Okay, my next one is from Eriana, beautiful Elven sister we have in the country of Estonia. And hers is a beautiful one as well. She goes, Megavana, my dear Elven brother, I am sending you my story, how I live an Elven life in today's world. As an Elven soul, trying to live as Elven as possible is very important to me. I think that I am doing many wonderful Elven things in life already. For example, I am vegan, and I use many natural and eco-friendly products, such as reusable water bottle, natural soaps and shampoos, etc. I use herbs for healing, and I love to do Reiki. I even use Reiki to heal an injured bird. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. We have a lovely garden where we grow our own food, and those who are living in the city can grow their own food as well, because many plants can be grown in pots too. I also love singing, swimming, and doing yoga. I try to walk in the forest or sit in my garden as much as possible. I meditate often and try to connect with the Valar and the Maiar. Overall, I try to be positive and happy. Absolutely beautiful. Well, I went on to ask her about the story about the bird. And for those that, after the show is aired, for those that want to go, it'll be later on that afternoon. I'll be reposting this show with video on my Elven Scholar YouTube channel. And I'm going to show you a picture. She sent me a couple of beautiful pictures of the bird that she helped heal. Because it's beautiful that she did this. I talk about in past radio show episodes as well as on the YouTube station channel about how a bird was hurt one winter where we lived in the Elven Sanctuary, and by doing Reiki on the bird recovered and flew off. It was a beautiful moment, and very similar happened with Eruana as well. So she goes, here's the story of the bird. A bird flew against the window. It was on the ground for a long time, and its beak was bleeding. My mother gave the bird water, but the bird still wasn't better. I was feeling sad and worried because I knew that I cannot do anything for the bird. Then I decided to send some elven energies and try to do Reiki on the bird. After some time, the bird started singing to me and flew away. It seems that I helped the bird. I was very happy that the bird was able to fly away. Ariana, thank you so much for your little testimonials there and some of the beauty that you did, and thank you for the pictures of this wonderful bird. You can actually, even in the picture, still see the blood on the bird's beak, but the bird obviously recovered, sang, and flew away, thanks to Elven love. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Above all else, one of the most important things for you to do, I think, when it comes to this, is to acknowledge what is an elf or a fairy or an otherkin to you. What does it mean to you? Maybe everything that I said here today has no bearing on you and doesn't affect your life, and that doesn't sound like an elf or a fairy or otherkin to you, and that's cool. Well, find out within yourself what it is that you want to be, what your dream is, and go do it. Whatever that happens to mean, find the truth within yourself. Go on your own quest to find out your own inner nature, and just do it every day, even if it's just a little something every day. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break here, and then when we get back, I've got some announcements to make, and then it will be story time. Again, this is Elven Awakenings, chatting with the Elven Scholar on Heroes and Mortals Radio, and we will be right back. When you go to college, you expect the high halls and libraries filled with old books. But much has changed, and in today's world, online schools have exploded in popularity. Please join us at Lambengomor, the world's first online college with a nod towards Elven and humankind alike. With Lambengomor, you can start a new career or a new life in the holistic health field. Learn a new Elven language, study history and culture or the environment. We believe everyone deserves an affordable education with personalized attention. We provide full certifications in the following fields: home herbalist, Reiki levels 1 through Reiki master, nutritionist, first aid, Elven history and culture, Elven languages, Quenya and Sindarin, anatomy, botany, introduction to archaeology, ecology, astronomy, and Elven laws of manifestation and meditation. We also offer full diplomas in the fields of medical herbalist and medical nutritionist. More classes are being added. Many students have already found new careers in these fields. You can pay for your classes outright or join a low-cost monthly subscription which allows you to take as many classes as you like at one time while you maintain the subscription. This college was founded to give you a chance to expand your horizons while believing in who you are. All classes are certified and are aimed at helping you start a new life and a new career. Adult study programs for both elves and humans alike, designed specifically for you. You can find us at www.elvenscholar.org. Discover what is inside of you. Be who you are at Lambengomor, the Elven School of Lore Masters. We're back, and it's time for announcements before we get on to our story. So I've got a couple of wonderful announcements to make. First off is for the show for next week. During this past week, I had a couple of people come to me with suggestions for future shows. One of them is from Mark, one of the owners of Heroes and Mortals Radio, sent me an interesting little piece on Earth. In Elven we call it Arda, and some will call her Gaia, and about how she is actually a living being. And it's really interesting that today more and more scientists are actually coming to the same conclusion. She actually has a heartbeat, actually has a song, that there is something unique and special about this blue globe that we live upon. So he suggested it as a possibility of a future show, and I loved it so much. I'm going to go ahead next week, plan on a wonderful show. I've talked about doing shows on the love of elves for the stars and trees and the earth. I've done them on music and water in the past. So this one is just in its entirety, that for the earth itself, why the elven love for the earth, for Arda as a living being, and our role as elves in cohabitating with her and healing her from the damage that humans have done to her. So next week, a very exciting show. Elven love for the earth as a living being. I'm going to be talking about it from a spiritual point of view, and even from a scientific point of view, how even science is now proving that she is indeed her own living being. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be next week. And then I had, again, my wonderful Elven sister Adriana out of Estonia had a wonderful suggestion. So this will probably be the show after that, is on Elven magic. She talked about spells and things of that nature. So I thought, what a great idea for a show that would, the show after next week is going to be on Elven magic. What is it and can you do it? So that sounds really exciting. So we'll be doing those shows here next week and the week after. I hope you will be a part of it all. Exciting stuff. Please feel free always to communicate with me through radio@elvenscholar.org. That's ELVENSCHOLAR.org. And send me your comments and your thoughts. What do you think about the earth as a living being and our role and our responsibilities to her? And what do you think about Elven magic? Is there such a thing? And if so, can we do it? Can we bring up and revisit those old legends and stories and bring that knowledge back up to the forefront again? So please feel free to let me know your thoughts and opinions on that, and I will be more than happy to share them on those shows. All right, one more announcement before we take another break, and then we get to story time, and that is something I've announced on the past 2 shows, and so I thought I'd go ahead and announce it at least one more time. My wife and I, as I've mentioned before, have been very, very blessed in learning the laws of Elven manifestation and bringing into our lives or through our lives so many wonderful gifts. And some of that has manifested financially as well. And so we would like to return the favor to those of our family that are out there. And one of the most important things we believe in is everyone should have access to education, and that money doesn't have to be an impediment to getting a good education. So again, this is not meant as an advertisement because I'm actually giving up money doing this. That, as I mentioned before, you probably just heard the commercial on it. We actually have the only full Elven college online. It's called Lambangamor, the Elven School of Lore Masters. You can find it at elvenscholar.org, ELVENSCHOLAR.org. You can find it at elvenscholar.org. Learn about what the school is. Yes, it has the word Elven in it, but it is not just an Elven college. Anyone, and many do, go to this college full online, and you can study to become a certified, and these are all certified courses, a certified herbalist, a certified medical herbalist, a nutritionist, a medical nutritionist. You can learn first aid, botany, basics in archaeology. You can learn to become a Reiki master, Reiki 1 through 3. Elven manifestation. There are so many courses that you can take. And we offer a very inexpensive subscription so that when you pay the subscription, you have access to all of the classes. But I want to do something different here. My wife and I decided to, at least for the next 3 to 4 months, that the school is free on a subscription basis to anyone who wants to be a part of it. So what we've done is, starting this month in February, we are having the bundle or the subscription to the school for free. You don't have to pay anything for the next 3 to 4 months. And the name of the bundle or the course is called the Elven Scholar Monthly Subscription. All right. That one normally is $25 a month. But for students who are already subscription members, as a thank you to you, all of your credit card transactions have been postponed, and your school will be free to you for the next 4 months for you to be able to, and you will have access, as you always have, to all your courses. For students, for those who are not yet students and would like to experience the school, all you have to do is go online and sign up. Signing up is free, and then go click on the Elven Scholar subscription membership and sign up for it. It will ask you, there's a coupon that you can use, and I can tell you right now, the coupon is, in this one word, is free school, FREESCHOOL, free school, one word. When you go to pay for it, put in that coupon, and current students don't have to do that. I've already taken care of yours, but for those who are new and signing up, type in free school there in the coupon. It will ask you for your credit card, but it will not charge you for 3 months. And then you can always unsubscribe, and it won't ever charge you. and you will get 3 months of access to all of our classes for free. And I have seen students complete certifications before the 3 months is up. All right. If you're not comfortable going through all that because you're concerned that, maybe it'll try to take your credit card, and I totally get it. Sign up for the school, and that part is free. And before you subscribe to the actual membership, send me an email through the school, and it's admin@elvenscholar.org. Let me know that you'd like to be enrolled, but you don't want to use your credit card. I get that. I will go ahead and enroll you in using the coupon, and you will have your free 3 months of education. I have seen students go on to holistic health care fields, be very successful. This is free school. It's our gift to you. You don't have to pay for school for the next 3 to 4 months. All right? So the offer is there for those who would like to take it. Okay. Going to take a quick break here, and then we get back. It is story time. Deep in the forest is a place filled with artifacts of an age gone by, a time when elven and fairies and all those of other kin knew who they were and remembered our mythic past. It is our pleasure here at Elven Artifacts to present some of those memories. With the rising costs of so many things today, it is becoming harder to find those precious gifts that pass along an air of myth and magic to our homes and to our individual lifestyles. Within this store, you may find that one particular treasure that reminds you of your gentler past, something to help grace your home with our memories. It is our goal to keep everything priced in such a way that makes it available to as many of our gentler folk as we can. Through the magic of 3D printing, we are able to offer them at a greatly reduced price. We are including Elven, Fairy, D&D, and other kin products such as statues, wall plaques, bathrooms, kitchenwares, musical instruments, smartphone accessories, clothes, and so much more. In keeping with our Elven traditions, all items are made from eco-friendly biodegradable materials. The plastic is made from sugarcane and bamboo. You're also welcome to customize your own artifacts. One of the most important features of this store is the ability that allows you to customize an item. You can have your name written in your language or in Elven, and even customize the images placed on the items. Please let us know what you're interested in designing, and we will try and help you again at an affordable cost. So please feel free to look us up at elvenscholar.org/store, and we'll do our best to help you find those memories that remind us of our true inner nature. Namaste. We're back, and it is time for story time. So I wanted to go ahead and just make this a happy, gentle little one. We didn't do one last week. This one is about one of my favorite countries on earth, and that is Iceland. So many people misunderstand the name and think that it's a horribly cold and desolate area. But it happens to be one of the most beautiful countries I've ever been to. And it's really interesting that it is also one of the top countries in the world for their belief in elves. Now, their elves are quite a bit different from what I would perceive, but it is a huge thing over there to believe in elves, and it even affects the building of roads, the building, getting construction permits. If there is a suspicion that you are building onto some elven sacred land, your permit's very likely not going to be approved. And so they are very, very much into their elven history and culture. So I've got a wonderful audio and video clip, audio for those for the radio show, video clip for those that check this out later in the day on my YouTube channel, an Elven Scholar. It's by a wonderful YouTube channel called The Strangest, and it's a little documentary on the history of elves in Iceland, and it's really quite fascinating. They are serious about their elven history and culture, and try their best not to upset the elves. So I'm going to go ahead and play this as our little story time, and I hope you enjoy it, and then we'll come back and it'll be time for final thoughts. Enjoy.
Welcome back, strangers. In the far north of the Atlantic Ocean, surrounded by cold and mysterious depths of unexplored waters, sits the striking land of fire and ice. Wrapped in endless fields of untouched beauty, the secluded Nordic island of Iceland is not all that it appears. Like many distant cultures, it's a place of myths and legends, told from generation to generation, sitting next to the fire. Yet, unlike most modern societies who have given up on their traditional beliefs and legends, many Icelanders are not yet ready to part with the existence of the Huldrfolk, best described as hidden elves who are mainly unseen by the people around them, except for those lucky enough to catch a glimpse of these mysterious beings. Today, we're going to discuss these peculiar creatures and the legends surrounding them. Icelandic elves live in shadows between the rocks or in alfels, charming structures built for them by the locals. These small wooden houses are scattered throughout the entire island, both in populated cities and distant wilderness, giving the elves a home and welcoming them to the local community. There are many small houses built for this purpose, but the Huldrfolk people also like to repurpose other buildings and structures as their homes. The Sáhusvöllur is one of hundreds of small turf sheds built by Icelanders in the 20th century. It was built by a farmer in 1948 as storage for milk cans. Since the road conditions were extremely bad at the time, the milk truck couldn't even deliver the goods all the way to their village. So he would bring the milk in the shed and the farmer would come pick it up when he could. Since the shed was located far from humans, the Huldrfolk made it their home. There are numerous examples across Iceland where locals believe the hidden people may have made homes, causing them to protect the area. You should never throw rocks in Iceland, because of the chance you may accidentally hit one of the little elves. The Huldrfolk can be territorial. There are countless stories of roads and building projects being stopped by elves when they intersect with their territory. According to Icelanders, machines mysteriously stop working, or some workers may get hurt, break a leg, or sprain an ankle. Luckily, there are supposed mediums who could speak with the hidden people, helping them come to an agreement with locals and keep everyone happy. The elves dislike electricity, churches, and crosses. They love to dance and be merry. There are many tales of hidden people invading farmhouses during Christmas to hold wild parties. It is custom for Icelanders to clean their homes before Christmas and leave out the food for the Huldrfolk on Christmas. It's a tradition to leave candles out on New Year's Eve to help the elves find their way at night, because it's believed this is how they move to new locations for the year. On Midsummer Night, a powerful Icelandic holiday celebrated on June 24th, many strange things can happen. Seals can become human, cows may speak, and if you sit in an intersection where all four roads lead to separate churches, elves will attempt to seduce you with food and gifts. If you can resist their seduction, you'll receive a great reward, but if you let temptation get the best of you, there are grave consequences. There are two stories that are widely accepted by Icelanders of how the Huldrfolk came to exist. Both legends combine pagan stories that have been passed down for centuries with Christianity that was spread among the Icelanders at the end of the 10th century. The first legend is set in the Garden of Eden. One day, God came to visit Adam and Eve and requested to meet their children. At the time, Eve was bathing them, but wasn't able to finish cleaning them all. Embarrassed to show God the dirty ones, she only showed him the children who were clean. God knew she was hiding some of her children, but he still gave her a chance to tell him the truth. Again, she lied to him and said all of her children were standing in front of them. To punish her disobedience, God declared that the children she hid from him would be hidden from all mankind. These hidden children became the first Huldrfolk. The second legend revolves around a traveler who got lost near a secluded farm. He knocked on the door, and an elderly woman welcomed him in. She prepared him a meal and introduced him to her gorgeous daughters. They invited him to stay for the night. The traveler asked if one of the daughters would keep him company. The hostess approved, but when he tried to embrace the woman he laid with, he couldn't touch her. Although she was clearly in front of him, his hands passed right through her as if she was a ghost. The woman saw the traveler was in shock and reluctantly revealed that she was a spirit without a body, one of the hidden people who neither opposed nor supported Lucifer when he revolted in heaven. As a result of their indecisiveness, they were sent to Earth with rocks and hills as their only companions. They can take a human form whenever they want to be seen, but they'll never be able to live with humans or have a true physical body. Huldrfolk are not the only supernatural beings that inhabit Iceland. There are stories of great trolls that also call the island their home. Unfortunately, many are long gone with their remains trapped in stone after being caught outside during an early morning sunrise. The first widely known troll story is related to the beautiful black sand beach in Vik. Many visit it for its amazing beauty, but it hides more than black sand and a gorgeous view. Just offshore from the beach stands a rock formation known as the Reynisdrangur. According to legend, these basalt rocks are actually trolls with an unfortunate fate. When trying to drag 3 ships ashore, the sunlight caught them, freezing them on the spot and turning them into stone, where they became a memorial to the supernatural creatures in Iceland. Trolls seem to enjoy beautiful scenery just as we do. The second story is set in the area of Dimmaburger, known for its uniquely shaped lava fields surrounded with rocks and caves, reminiscent of a great citadel. Yet its history goes way back in time, long before humans stepped foot on the island, when many kinds of mythical creatures, including the great trolls, walked the land. These trolls were not as hardworking as the ones on the beach of Vik. Their fate was sealed when they decided to throw a great party during the dark days in this area. Many trolls came, and the party lasted for days. They enjoyed it so much that they forgot about the coming of sunlight, which struck them unprepared and turned them into huge pillars. If you're observant enough, you can still see their faces in the same shape as they were when they were sealed thousands of years ago.
I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened.
So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. There are other forces at work in this world, Frodo, besides the will of evil.
Indeed, what to do with the time that we have left. This is Final Thoughts, and I wanted to cover a little bit real quickly about what is going on in the world and how we can avoid making decisions based on fear. All right, with all that's happening in the world today, I mean, I know a lot of you are aware of this, and I also get it that a lot of you are trying to avoid watching the news, and I'm all for that as well. You know, we've got things going on in Canada. We've got economic upheaval around the world. We've got massive inflation, and not the least of which, of course, is the war in the Ukraine. All right. Humans causing suffering to other humans. All right. But we have a choice here. As Gandalf was just telling Frodo, it's what we do with the time that we have. And part of that is in the decisions that we make. Do we make decisions based on fear, or do we decide to try to change our perspective? As a Elven Zen student, one of the things I've learned is that most of the suffering in this world comes from our perspective of life, of reality, and how we choose to look at life. You know, look at things, whether that's in a dualistic type of way. Is it good versus evil, light versus dark, you know, love versus hate, etc., etc., etc. And unfortunately, as much as we'd like to say, yes, there is good, and yes, there is evil, and yes, there is light and dark, and love and hate, but whose definition is that? Whose definition is good, and whose definition is bad or evil? Or it's by us making those decisions that, oh, that was evil and that was horrible. And we cause suffering to ourselves and others, because did that perspective change anything? But what we can do is change how we look at life, and then make decisions based on that, and not cause ourselves or others suffering. A good example, a wonderful example, is something my wife and I, Famous and I, have experienced in just the past week is we find, and we love doing crypto investing. It's a wonderful way for, if you know what you're doing, to have financial freedom, and to allow us to be able to have the freedom to do a lot of the things we'd like to do. And again, another wonderful form of Elven manifestation. But as some of you are probably aware, it's been a bumpy ride for a lot of people, again, who don't know what they're doing with the stock market or crypto or most other kind of investments, because of every little rumor that comes out. All of a sudden people sell off and they start going to cash because they sold off all their stocks, or they sold off all their crypto. And of course, then we see the markets crash. And literally within 24 to 36 hours, all of a sudden it starts going up, because all of a sudden people are bored and they start getting back into it again, and they find out, as always, it wasn't as severe an impact on them as they thought it was going to be. And my wife and I watched this, and what we chose to do during these multiple crashes that have been occurring this year is to not become attached to the outcome. Not become attached to it, but to know that life is precious and sacred, and it will always turn out okay. And if you don't become attached to the outcome, then you're not going to be sad. You're not going to be unhappy with what happens. You're just going to, as the old cliche goes, you're just going to go with the flow. You live in the moment, with gratitude for this very precious and sacred life you have. If you choose to not make decisions based out of fear, it will allow you the clarity you need to see your situation and to be able to make decisions based on love, or at least on logic. But when you make decisions based on fear, that's what causes the suffering. As far as all this going on, I know that there's many that rightfully so, understandably so, they're very upset with going on in the Ukraine. And again, human brutality upon humans again. But we also have to acknowledge that for ourselves, there is only so much that we can do within our individual sphere of influence. And sometimes the best you can do is to heal yourself and to heal others when you can, and let the rest go. And just have faith that to live in the moment. I've got a beautiful little audio video clip I'm going to play right now. From, again, I mention them quite often, is from a wonderful YouTube channel called Dare to Do Motivation. And this was one that they had done not too long ago called God's Present to You. All right, a very special life lesson. So I'm going to play this, and then I will be right back to close out the hour. I hope you enjoy.
Once upon a time, there was a very wise doctor, and he could make medications, medicine that could cure any illness imaginable. This doctor had many children, and one day he traveled to a distant land. While he was away, his children mistakenly drank poison. They became very sick. Some were in pain, some lost their minds, some were close to death. Others were only a little bit sick. When the doctor returned from his long trip, he saw that his children were very sick. All the children, even though ill with poison, were happy to see their father return. "Welcome home, father," they said. "We are so happy to see that you have returned safely. While you were away, we were very foolish. We all mistakenly drank some poison. Please save us from this suffering." The doctor went to work, grinding, sifting, and mixing various herbs. He made a powerful medicine that had a beautiful color, excellent fragrance, and wonderful taste. This medicine was perfect. Bringing the medicine to his children, he encouraged them to drink it. "My children, here is a medicine of excellent color, fragrance, and taste. Drink this, and your illness will be gone, and you will be well." Those children who were only slightly ill immediately took the medicine and were quickly cured. The children who had lost their minds refused the medicine. They were confused by the poison in their bodies. They refused to believe that their father's medicine would help them. "My poor children," the father said, "because you have consumed poison, your thinking has become twisted. When you saw me return home, you begged me to cure you. But when I offered you this medicine, you refused it. If you won't take this good medicine, how can you be cured?" Although the children's minds were confused, their father loved them. He had to think of a way to get them to take the medicine. And so finally, the doctor said, "My beloved children, hear me well. I am old and weak, and may die at any time. I will leave this medicine here for you. Even if I should die, your sickness can still be cured with this good medicine. Please don't doubt that. I must leave now on another trip, So please remember what I have told you." The doctor then traveled to another land. He sent a messenger home to tell his children of his death. The children were stunned. They had never expected him to really die. They said, "Our father is dead. Now we have no one to rely on." Then the children remembered the medicine that their father had left for them and his words before leaving. In tears, they each took some of the medicine and were immediately cured of their illness. Then, to their amazement, their father returned home. For the first time, they realized how great his love and mercy was for them. You see, in life, in your life, you have been gifted a wonderful present by, however you may call it, God, the universe, spirituality. Now, from our birth, we all get this beautiful medicine. It is inside of us. It tells us what is right, what is wrong. It gives us strength. It lets us imagine. It lets us dream. It lets us fulfill our wishes. It helps us to achieve whatever we want. But as we get older, we forget this great present. We forget what it means to dream and to believe. And thus, we descend into nothingness. So don't forget the great medicine that the universe gave you. It is always there with you. You just have to be prepared to drink it. This is Dare to Do Motivation, Stories. Thanks for watching, and stay blessed.
Such a simple little tale. And what I got out of it, and I hope maybe you did as well, is that you can either accept the world as it is, with all the horror and the negativity and the fear-based culture that exists, or you can dream of a better world and making decisions based on love and go, I'm going to dream of something better and I'm going to manifest that for myself. And I'm not going to make decisions based on fear because of what I see on TV. They do the things they do on TV for sensationalism, to get ratings, to get viewers, because unfortunately in this culture, this is a culture of people who want to see train wrecks. You know, it's the old cliche. A lot of people don't go to the races to watch cars go round and round. They go there to see them crash. That's not everybody, of course, but that is a large majority of people. They thrive on the discomfort of others. Maybe it feels like they're not the only one in the same boat. But you don't have to do that. You can look at this world and go, I understand, but I'm going to dream of a better world and I'm going to be part of that world. I'm going to make my decisions based on love and not fear. And I'm not going to allow them to suck me into their darkness. You are special. You are a grand gift of light. As I said, you are walking starlight on this world. And you can shine and help others to see that light as well. All right. Well, that is it for today. I enjoyed this very much, and I hope you did as well. As always, thank you for listening, my friends. And until we are together again next week, may you all be blessed by the elves. My name is Dr. Elven Spindalelis, and I am the Elven Scholar. Namarie. Megavanen, and welcome to our YouTube channel, The Gentle Musings of an Elven Scholar. My name is Dr. Elven Spindalelis, and I am the Elven Scholar. Join me on this journey exploring all things Elven. Learn about Elven culture, healing, diet, meditation, and Elven spirituality. Come and take this adventure with me, and together we can find that inner light and balance that exists within each one of us. Namarie.